My ex-husband just admitted he still loves me, and I have no idea what to do about it. This is so surreal. I'm living a fantasy I've had 1,000,001 times, and I don't even know if I want it anymore. This is a long story that no one will read, and I don't blame you. But typing it out might help me understand how I'm feeling here. We got married young, 19 and 22, with basically a shotgun wedding. Carried for 8 months just for it to end in a stillbirth. And he was there for me, and he cared, and it felt like we fell in love after we got married. And things were good. He wasn't controlling. He believed in me, motivated me to do more and more. Go to school, get a degree, become a nurse, all that. He even paid for a good chunk of it himself, like most of it, when he wasn't even making good money yet. The bedroom took some time to really figure out, but once it was mastered, it was mastered. He never tried to get me to have a kid again either. He was perfect, and he grew into being perfect, which just made me love him more. What we had felt so loving and good and like, wow, I really just stumbled my way into this from a casual FWB to an amazing life and husband. And it stayed that good for a long time. Then I hit 30, and things started to change. It was little things, little comments he'd make about how young we were when we met, how we went straight into making the marriage work and school and apprenticeships, how we never really got to be young, even though I think 30 is pretty damn young. And he started to go out with his friends more, but not like before. Before they would come over and play video games or barbecue or something and chill out, but then he started going out, and he just started having more fun without me, I guess. And then it got worse. He sat me down and brought up the topic of an open marriage, more freedom for exploration and everything he couldn't do before me, basically. And I said no. He said he wasn't sure he wanted to continue with what we had, and it all crumbled from there. He just decided he didn't want to be married anymore. To be clear, he divorced me. He didn't cheat on me, but it was motivated by the fact that he wanted to, his words. It was a bad divorce, but honestly, only emotionally. I felt blindsided and horrible and begged for him to stay. Even said I would do the open marriage after all, which he declined. He said it wouldn't be real if I didn't want it, and thank God he did that because it's true. But he was a good person through the whole thing. He just was. He gave me our house that I paid a fraction for because he wanted to make it up to me for him wasting my youth or something. Youth became such a big talking point, man, IDK. He offered alimony, which I should have taken him up on, but I didn't because I felt bad. And I didn't actually need it. But the point is, he divorced me, blamed me for nothing, and was kind. I couldn't even hate him. He wanted to stay friends. I didn't because I was still in love with him, so we landed on friendly. No blocking, follow each other on social media, no bad words to either side of the family, but we don't talk. Except the twice yearly Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas texts. The divorce was final in January of 2019, and I thought that was that. I didn't date throughout 2019, and 2020 I couldn't for obvious reasons. Same for 2021, just focusing on not freaking dying. But I did meet someone in 2022, and we've been dating for almost 2 years in February. It's nice, easy. He's divorced too. Neither of us want to get married again, and it just works. We were even talking about moving in together eventually. And then X calls, from his mom's phone no less. I had stayed close to her, not super, but like a phone call twice a month and sending actually gifts for the holidays. So I picked up with the usual, "Hi Judy, how are you?" And it was him. We hadn't talked in nearly 5 years, and then bam, there you go, ex-husband, suddenly is desperate to see me. He said that we really needed to talk and asked if he could come by. He could even bring his mom if I was uncomfortable with just him. And I said yes, but to bring his mom. Now at this point, full on, I thought one of them was dying. Mostly thought it was him and that he wanted to make amends or something, because nothing else would explain the suddenness. He came over to the house with his mom as promised, but he looked fine. They both did, which made me so much more confused. But I let them in and waited for him to say something. It was the most awkward 45 seconds of my life, until his mom elbowed him and said, "I'm not doing this for another year. Tell her. I'll be in the other room." Which, am I crazy, or again does that make it sound like he's dying? And she left for the kitchen and left us in the hall. And he just started word vomiting. I don't know what else to call it. Like, I'll type out what he said coherently, but I want to make it clear it did not come out this clean. Being young and dumb didn't matter when I wasn't with him. He thought he'd be happy to have full freedom to do whatever he wanted, and he was for a while. He traveled, met people, dated, but it always felt wrong. And he knew he regretted the divorce years ago, but didn't want to bother me after he broke everything apart, for fucking nothing apparently. He said his friends were in his ear, always talking about marriage and how it slowed them down, and he listened despite the fact that I never tried to stop him from doing what he wanted. And he still loved me, and he wanted me back, and he never really stopped. And he would talk about it, year after year after year, to his family. And his mom told him what I had told her, about the idea of moving in with the boyfriend, and it triggered the hell out of him. And that's how he ended up on my doorstep, I felt like I was in a damn movie. Except the music didn't swell and I didn't have like the magical moment of the love of my life. And I are getting back together, it all worked out. I just felt confused and angry. And I told him that this was all too much to drop on me out of nowhere and to leave. But I'd call him, so now I'm here. Still confused, still angry. But now have to figure out how to tell my boyfriend about this. I will not be leaving him in the dark. But what the hell, man? If you loved me so damn much, why did you leave? Why were you so insistent that you had to be with other people? You know I'm seeing someone. You could have tried this for the years I was single. Why now? Why? I feel so suspicious and weird, and I don't know if I believe him, but at the same time, I still have never loved someone the way I loved him. Is it that insane to think that what we had did matter to him? Is that delusional? Or did he just have a midlife crisis and regrets? I don't fucking know. I just don't. Your ex-husband, the one who handed you a divorce and a sight of newfound freedom, suddenly decides he's still got feelings for you. It's like finding a forgotten chapter of a book you thought you'd closed ages ago. You're feeling confused and rightfully angry. I mean, why now? After all these years of radio silence and him exploring the buffet of life, it's like he went backpacking through Regretsville and decided to send you a postcard saying, "Wish you were still here." Not cool, dude. As for the current boyfriend, he's unwittingly found himself in a bit of a love triangle, hasn't he? Now, you've got to sit him down and spill the beans. Good luck with that conversation. It's the kind that could use a handle with care label. You're not crazy for questioning whether what you had with your ex actually mattered to him. People make mistakes, and hindsight can be a cruel but enlightening companion. But can you trust this sudden change of heart? That's the million-dollar question. If you're thinking about reopening the X-Files, he's got some serious groveling to do. Words are cheap, actions speak louder. And don't forget about your current beau. He's part of this narrative too. Keep him in the loop because this isn't just a solo performance. Now, let's go to our first comment section. User Mindless Dependent 39. OP the love of my life did the same thing. Pushed for open marriage and swinging with his bestie and wife. I didn't want to, but was eventually talking into it. It was the beginning of the end of our marriage. I became so hurt I attempted to unalive myself. After I failed, I gave an ultimatum of monogamy. He refused. It broke apart our family. We were high school sweethearts. We had 2 little kids. A year or 2 before his dad had died, the only parent he was close to. We stayed in closer contact than you and your ex because we had little kids. He continued to spiral and about a year later was homeless and at rock bottom. He moved in with me to help with house stuff and the kids. We were not together. But we talked a lot and worked stuff out. We eventually did end up together. He had suffered a nervous breakdown when his father died. And in trying to fulfill all these expectations placed on him by other people, he had ruined the best thing in his life. We found out later that those expectations included rigid ideas about gender roles that had always been a problem, because our relationship never conformed to gender stereotypes. Today, we have the most beautiful and loving relationship. We talk about everything, are each other's best friends, and can communicate all our vulnerabilities and worries without fear or hurt. I say, if you truly believe your ex is the love of your life, try therapy, or just continue to talk about your feelings of hurt and betrayal. A lot of times relationships end for good reason, but when they end out of fear or desperation for something undefinable, then I think they can be repaired. Like the Japanese art of kintsugi, repairing things can sometimes make them stronger. We were together for 16 years the first time. We have been together 12 years since. User Arayukanuf. You don't need to commit or decide anything right now. Your ex-husband broke the relationship up, not you. He needs to prove it won't happen again, and you need to make that clear to him before anything else happens. If you both still love each other, I think it's worth having another go. There wasn't infidelity, so it is salvageable, but definitely there was a breach of trust last time. You haven't said too much about your current relationship, so you'll have to weigh up how important that is to you now and in the future. User Axon Jackson 98. This is bullshit. Even if it was an honest mistake on his part and he treated you well and was consensual, at the end of the day, he still made the decision to divorce you. That is a long and painful process, so you have to really make it happen. It's not a menial decision. I think that will always be between you. You're both looking for the relationship that you had, but you already buried that relationship with court proceedings. It will be different this time around. I'm sorry you're going through this and hope whatever decision you make makes you happy. Let's get into the next story. I cheated. But at what point do I deserve happiness? Let's start with the backstory. I met my wife in HS. We dated for 3 years, but broke it off in the middle of senior year. We stayed broken up for a little over a year. During that year, I dated a little, fooled around a little, hooked up with a couple girls, but mostly hung out with friends. Nothing serious. We got back together and everything was great. At 21, we had our first child and got married. My daughter changed my life. I went from nerdy video game slacker to highly ambitious IT professional overnight. I found a great job, got promoted quickly, and started to travel for work. At 24, we had our second child. Prior to kids, our intercourse life was pretty great, anywhere from 2 to 5 times a week. But after the second one, it was maybe once every other month, usually less. I met someone that worked at one of the locations I traveled to. Similar situation, young, married with kids, no intercourse. It started innocent, as it always does, but eventually we decided we loved our spouses, but still needed intercourse. And rather than run the risk of getting emotionally involved, we would just have intercourse when I was in town. When I wasn't in town, we'd talk like friends, co-workers, and flirt lightly, but that's it. But a relationship like this allowed us both to open up to some sexual kinks we'd never shared with our spouses, and the kind of stuff I didn't get to do when I was single for a year. We did this for about a year and a half, which ended up being about 6 visits. We both decided that while it was nice to have kinky no-strings intercourse, we should really refocus our energy on trying to fix our intercourseless marriages. And I did. I completely put all my energy into rekindling the fire of passion in my marriage. It didn't really work, but everything outside of the bedroom is perfect, so I decided that I was okay with very little intercourse because she is an amazing woman and I don't want to break up a great family just because I'm not getting intercourse. I also made a vow to stay faithful, which I did. Then about 2 years ago, my wife found a video on the laptop of me and my secret intercourse buddy. I came clean about everything, admitted I was wrong, and vowed to prove that I'm worth trusting. She had some requirements that I accepted without question. I stopped hanging out with friends, stopped playing any and all video games, no longer chatted on MSN with friends, very limited time on the internet, switched jobs, helped out more around the house, let her have full access to my email, etc. Basically, I decided that I would cut out everything that could be a distraction from rebuilding trust. It's 2 years later and I'm confused. I've been faithful for more than 3 years now and done everything asked of me and more. I've made such major changes in my life and who I am to prove that I can be trusted. But it's made very little difference. Still almost no intercourse, and she is very, very mistrusting still. She can have a Facebook, but I can't. She can go out with friends occasionally, but I can't. I can play a video game, but only if it has no online chat component. We did counseling for about 6 months, and the therapist did say she saw improvements, and that I was making a serious effort to prove my trustworthiness and unlikely to cheat again. My wife didn't like sharing details of our life and felt it wasn't helping. Recent, a girl I knew in HS contacted me and made it very clear she'd be interested in an intercourse-only relationship. I told her no, but it made me start to wonder how much punishment should I endure. I feel that I've tried as hard as I can and I want it to get better, but I refuse to spend the next 70 years apologizing and walking around with my tail between my legs. But I also don't want to be a weekend-only dad. That would kill me. And I still very, very much love my wife. I just don't know what to do. We are going to share our opinion in the next story update. Updates. I cheated, but at what point do I deserve happiness? What a difference a week makes. I came to Reddit a mere 5 days ago, and the life I had last week is nearly unrecognizable from the one I have today. Wall of text ahead. After reading all the comments last week, I decided I'm not a prisoner, and things had to change. I made plans to go out with friends I hadn't seen in over a year on Friday night. On Thursday night, I sat down with my wife to try to reopen communication. Let her know that I have needs and wants that aren't being met, and that if we are going to make this work, then some changes have to happen. She is my partner, not my warden. She took it pretty well and seemed to understand where I was coming from, and recognized the huge amount of work I've put into myself in this relationship. It felt like a fairly major breakthrough. We even discussed picking a new therapist and giving that another try. But there was something nagging me the whole time. A Redditor said to me that he went through something similar, but eventually found out his wife was also cheating, which explained the Alcatraz-style lockdown on his life. I don't know why, but I couldn't shake this thought. I know my wife wouldn't cheat, but she's also a reasonable person. So why the hell have I been on house arrest for 2 years? After a couple days, the thought got the better of me, and I put a keylogger on our laptop. I did this Thursday afternoon. Friday comes, and I'm excited to see my buddies. We talked a little before I left. She was apprehensive, but understood this is necessary to rebuild lasting trust in our relationship. And like Reddit suggested, I hardly had anything to drink, answered texts and phone class in a timely fashion, and got home 20 min before I said I would as a show of good faith. My wife is in bed already, but sleepily asked how the night went, and I said it was great. Saturday morning, we discuss it at length. She seems genuinely happy and understanding, and I am beaming ear to ear. Not only did I get to see the buddies, but it appears that I'm making headway in my relationship. Win-win. And while I'm on this euphoric high, I decide that trust is not made with a keylogger. It was dumb to install it and will only create paranoia in me. I should also mention that while she has full access to my email, I have the same access to her email and Facebook. So really it seemed that a keylogger was overkill. I go to uninstall it. Of course, curiosity gets the best of me and I check the very limited 2.5 days worth of logs. Nothing jumps out at me. Amazon, Facebook, YouTube, Gmail, etc. I get to the end of the log and it's looking good. Until I see another trip to Gmail, this time for an account I have never seen before. I remain calm. I keep an old Hotmail account for spam sign-up crap. I've advised her to do the same and only let friends know her real email. Either way, I log into the new account. No spam, no nothing, it's empty. Just a bunch of empty folders. Until I hit the tax information folder. Now this folder is full. Full as in hundreds of emails. However, none of it is tax related. All of it is to or from Steve. I have a 65 Vayo step uncle named Steve, but this is not him. I don't know who this Steve is. These emails are graphic. Lots of what he likes to do to her and what she likes to do to him. Lots of last weekend was amazing type stuff. So after reading maybe 30 of these, I decide I need to stop reading them. I made a new Gmail account and forwarded all of them to this account. Then I went back and deleted my tracks. I'm somewhat calm during all this. It sucks, but I cheated, so I am now experiencing what she did when she found out about me. While forwarding them, I pay closer attention to the dates. This affair has been going on for a very long time. All the way back to roughly a year before my son was born, or 1.5 years before I cheated. That hits me like a ton of bricks. What if my son isn't mine? What if my 1-year-old baby girl isn't mine? I fucking lose it. I verify my tracks are covered and bolt out of the house saying I'm going to the gym. I sit in my car for 2 hours crying at the thought, they might not be mine and how do I ever move forward? I have no idea how to confront her. I head home and find her best friend is there. They have decided they want to go a movie. I'm still in shock, so I just nod. I need time to process anyways. So I put the kids to bed and try to figure out how I'm going to talk to her about this. I decide to check her secret Gmail again. She emailed him 4 hours earlier. She told him she'd have an hour after the movie to meet up. Check the time, the movie is done or close to it. I start calling her cell repeatedly. No answer. I call about 10 times. No answer. It's 1 a.m. and I'm sitting on the couch and she walks in. Surprised to see me up, asks if I'm feeling okay. Ha! I stood up right in front of her and said I'm fine, and asked her, why didn't you pick up the phone? She says it was a movie. Can't talk in a movie. And then she forgot to check it when she headed to the bar for one drink. She makes her way to the stairs and I say, how is Steve doing? Her face goes white. Your Uncle Steve? She says. No, the Steve you just got done fucking 20 minutes ago. How is he? I say. She says nothing. I tell her I found the Gmail account. I saw her email planning to meet him after the movie tonight. With what little composure I had left, I asked, why didn't you come clean when you found about me cheating? We could have fixed this together. She starts bawling and runs upstairs. I follow. What ensues is the worst 4 hours of my life. She comes clean that she met him back when she was working. He was a temp. I again asked why not come clean 2 years ago so we could both work on this. She says she was too hurt by what I did and too ashmid to come clean. She said she told Steve she needed it to end and wanted to work on our marriage. And she says she did, but about 8 months later, ended up hooking up again and it started all over. I asked why the prison rules. She says it's because she loves me and didn't want me to leave. I explained that, while not right, I cheated because we didn't have intercourse. But obviously she was having intercourse elsewhere, so she didn't need it at home. So I asked why she cheated, because I know prior to Steve, we had intercourse 2-3 times a week, and she came 1-2 times each time. She says he was relentless in pursuing her, which made her feel sexy, and that the relationship was taboo, which added a thrill. Do you love him? To which she says no, but liked the thrill and the taboo. I could go on and on. I asked a million questions. Eventually, I asked the big question, are the 2 youngest kids mine? She assures me they are. I ask how can she be so sure, to which her response is she just knows. Despite what she says, she has no way, without a blood test, to assure me they are mine. I am crushed on so many levels. I stand up and head for the door. She stops me and begs me to forgive her and that we will work this out. I can impose harsh rules if I want, and watch her every move and she will do anything to fix this. I calmly tell her I have no interest in being a warden and that I need to go for a walk. I walk for an hour and come home and crash on the couch. Sunday was beyond awkward. I said very little to her. I studied my 2 youngest, trying to find my traits in them. Every time I think I'd see something, I'd be struck by the fact that I don't know what Steve looks like. Perhaps he has big ears too, and that's where my son gets them. We talked briefly Sunday night. Despite wanting to ask more and understand more, my soul just wasn't in it. So we went to bed separately, and I laid awake to the sound of her crying upstairs. It felt good to get that out. I'm not sure what to do from here. Part of me thinks that neither of us will likely ever trust the other. but the other part thinks that she could have left 2 years ago to either be alone or be with Steve. She gave me another chance and am a better person for having that chance. Wouldn't it be hypocritical of me to end this because of infidelity? Doesn't she deserve a chance to prove herself and improve herself like I have? Update. I got home from work and she had the kids at her parents' for a sleepover. She kept trying to get me to say what I thought or felt, and I kept pretty quit. I told her I didn't know what I thought or felt yet. I know I need to talk to her, but all I feel like doing is laying on the couch with some beer and watching Futurama till I pass out. She did eventually get me to talk. I basically said that I don't know what to do, but I think at the very least we need some separation and therapy if we are going to attempt to fix this. She was unhappy about the separation part, but I put my foot down. I've lived trapped in my house for 2 years. Perhaps I'm not the person she loves, but instead loves the idea of us. She saw my point and said she did love me, but understood that some time apart might help. Well, it's 6 months after I found out my wife had been cheating, and a lot has changed. After finding out, the first thing I did was get the kids' DNA tested. Then I spent the next 2 weeks sleeping on the couch and having endless conversations with my wife. The more we talked, the more I felt like the world's biggest chump. I had poured my soul into fixing the relationship and was racked with guilt while she was out fucking some guy. But I also couldn't see myself just walking away. She'd been in my life since we were 15. We are 29. So I agreed to start therapy immediately and see how I felt after talking to someone else. To say the therapist was a bit shocked by our story is a bit of an understatement. This lady was pretty blunt in saying that nearly all of our problems stem from my wife's actions, and she needed counseling just for her, in addition to the couples session. While we were in therapy, I moved out and crashed with my best friend, but demanded the house on the weekend so I could be with the kids. My other conditions were that she cut off all contact with Steve, and that we talk openly about everything. Any lies, even white lies, and I would be done. I also wanted full control of the bills budget. She complied. I never divulged that it was a keylogger that helped me find out what was going on. She just assumed that she had stayed logged into her secret Gmail account and I didn't correct her. Asshole move, but I figured that since I'd been lied to for 3+ years, I had the right to do a bit of spying. This puts us at roughly 4 weeks after I found out. And finally, the results from the kids' DNA tests come back. All mine. That was such a relief that I can't even describe it. It almost felt like I didn't care what happened with my wife anymore, because I knew my kids were mine and I'd always have them. And one thought stuck in my mind the whole time was, I can accept that people make mistakes, but if she loved me, she had the chance to come clean about her mistake when she caught me. Instead, she put me on lockdown for years. Who does that to someone they love? I just could stop thinking about that. Therapy was going well, but I was becoming jealous and angry, always upset. I was away from home all week, and then on the weekend, I'd tear apart the laptop trying to find out what she'd been doing in my absence. She was checking her secret email, and Steve was continuing to email her, but she never responded. That was the breaking point. She hadn't shut down the email like I had asked, and while she wasn't responding, she was checking the emails. Almost like she was keeping her safety net around so she could go back if things didn't work out. Or maybe not, I don't know. But I didn't want to be an angry and jealous all the time. I didn't want to be a warden. The next day I confronted her and told her I couldn't forgive what she had done. I told her I could probably move past the cheating, but the way I was treated was terrible. I explained how I had pushed friends out of my life and shut myself off from the world, to work on us only to find out I was being kept prisoner, so she could keep fucking her boy toy. She broke down crying, saying she'd do anything to salvage the relationship, but it fell on deaf ears. That Monday I contacted an attorney. Fast forward 4.5 months and I have my own place. Divorce is nearly final, and I'm finally starting to feel like me again. We are going for 50-50 custody. I've been reconnecting with friends and trying to find new hobbies for when I don't have the kids. I've been on 2 dates because a couple friends wanted to double date, thinking it would help me. It was nice to meet new girls, but I'm just nowhere near ready to trust anyone. Part of me thinks I'll just put off dating until the kids are out of HS. The kids are sad that we aren't together, but we keep all of this away from them. No arguing in front of them and no bashing the other when they aren't around. But either way, I think I'm on the road to recovery. And feel free to ask anything, because you guys helped more than I could ever say. It's clear that you've been through an incredibly challenging and emotionally draining experience. Infidelity can take a heavy toll on relationships, and the discovery of a long-term affair is undoubtedly a painful revelation. Your decision to seek therapy and make efforts to work on the relationship initially showed strength and commitment. However, the subsequent discovery of your wife's ongoing affair with Steve raises new and distressing questions about trust, communication, and the future of your marriage. The emotional roller coaster of confronting infidelity, questioning the paternity of your children, and ultimately deciding to pursue divorce is undoubtedly a complex journey. Your efforts to prioritize your own well-being and establish clear boundaries during this process are crucial for your personal growth and future happiness. It's important to remember that each individual situation is unique, and there's no one-size-fits-all solution to navigating the aftermath of infidelity. Taking time for self-reflection, seeking support from friends or professionals, and focusing on your own healing are vital aspects of moving forward. As you continue on your road to recovery, be kind to yourself and allow the necessary time and space to heal. Your well-being and happiness are paramount, and it's commendable that you're taking steps to rebuild your life on your own terms. Now let's move on to the section for comments. User Pandora-tastic. It's interesting that, in the end, he got the answer to his original question. He was wondering, if you cheat on someone, how long is it before you deserve to be happy again? In the end, he learned that it was never a question of how long you should be punished. It was a question of whether the broken trust can be rebuilt. User Moogle Methus. Poor kids. Ain't no way this won't mess up their view on relationships to some degree. The wife is absolutely awful, but Oop's whole spiel about she should have come clean when she caught me cheating is just hilarious. Dude, you had to be caught in order to confess. Maybe don't crow too loudly about when she should have confessed. The wife's definitely worse, though. I hope neither of them fuck up their next partner's lives. User Alucard117. I've been in a relationship where I broke my partner's trust. Not by cheating, but because they were uncomfortable with me watching porn, and I was addicted to it but didn't want to admit it. I spent at least 3 years of her having access to every email account and social media I had after. She would pretty much daily scan my entire phone for any kind of content she didn't like, and I tolerated it because I felt bad about hurting her. I think it's good to feel guilt when you've done wrong, but some of us go overboard with it, and as a result will tolerate absurd amounts of punishment afterwards because we think we deserve it. Even as I type this, my primary email and my Reddit account are on her phone just as they're on mine. I've put up with it so long that it feels normal. Luckily for OOP, he never seemed to internalize the abuse he put up with and recognize that he was in an awful situation despite his previous actions. Before we get into the next story, hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss. Now, let's move on to the next story. Ida for marrying my sister's ex. Me, 27F, and my sister, 29F, have been fighting recently for something that I thought got resolved a long time ago. I've debated posting for like a week now, but figured someone not directly involved would be good to hear from. A couple months ago, I married my husband, Greg, 29M, after being together for 4 years. We met each other working at the same office, and I developed this huge crush on him. I was pretty sure he was into me too, so I decided to bring it up to my sister, Alicia. Alicia and Greg had dated in middle school when they were both 13-ish. And because it had been so long and at such a young age, I didn't think there would be an issue, but I still wanted to check. I didn't want to accidentally start dating some long-lost love of her life or something, so I thought I would clear the air by asking. She seemed a bit surprised because I don't think she was expecting to hear about her middle school ex-boyfriend randomly so many years later. But after we talked for a bit, she said she didn't really care. So I thought, cool, I have the go-ahead. I thanked her and moved on with things, and a little while later, me and Greg got together. It's never seemed to be an issue before recently. We hit all the milestones and she seemed to be happy for us. When he met my family again, they were a bit surprised, but things were fine. My sister was even one of my bridesmaids and seemed happy for me the entire time. Like, I haven't really thought of them dating in forever, because it no longer seems relevant. I mean, she has a husband at this point, so it doesn't seem like a middle school boyfriend would be something to dwell on. We were with my family this Christmas, and things were going just as fine as they usually are, until my sister started handing out the presents she had gotten. Now, we don't get each other presents every year, and people in my family typically aren't buying special presents for people they're not close to. So the in-laws don't get screwed or anything because they didn't buy every individual cousin a gift. But during my wedding planning, she said she wanted to get me something special for my first Christmas as a married woman, so it took me off guard. I looked sort of confused for a second, but I didn't want to be a bitch on Christmas, so I just smiled and watched everyone open their gifts. Lots of circumstances could cause someone to not be able to get a gift, so it was fine. But after she finished handing things out, she looked at me and said, I wasn't getting anything because I had taken enough. I asked her what she meant because, And she said I didn't have to be so weird to plot to take Greg from her. I'll admit I had a crush on him when I was 11, but I didn't plan my life around dating him one day. I grabbed her and pulled her into the other room and we started yelling at each other. I definitely said some nasty things because if she had an issue, why wouldn't she bring that up when I directly asked her? We both wound up leaving my parents' house early and her husband seemed super pissed. My mom texted that she was disappointed we fought in Christmas. Which, yeah, I get, but it's not like I did it intentionally. She's telling whatever family members will listen about how I stole her boyfriend, and so they're mad at me. And I don't feel like I could be the asshole, but I also can't tell. Greg's super pissed because she's been trying to message him about this, and he doesn't get why this is such an issue. I've tried to speak with a couple times, and I brought up how I asked her already for permission, but she says I took her off guard. Things are pretty tense right now in my family, but less people are mad at me now. A lot of you were correct about the marriage issues between my sister and her husband. The other night, my mom invited me over to talk about what was happening. First, she apologized for telling me she was disappointed. Her and my dad were just upset there was drama on Christmas. I apologized for picking the fight during the gift exchange because I know I definitely could have waited until later. Her and my sister have been talking a lot the past couple of days. I have yet to talk to her in person. Alicia told my mom that her husband Chris had told Alicia that I had been flirting with him and I had seduced him. I would never fucking do that. So this was a pretty big shock to hear. He had never been weird to me, so I had always been cordial, but I am in no way attracted to him. She had told my mom a couple months back that Chris was interested in another woman, but never said who. They had been going to couples counseling to help, and Alicia told my mom it had been helping. We're not sure what caused her to snap at Christmas specifically, since beforehand she told my mom things were getting better. My mom had called her the night after we fought, and that's when my sister told her that I was the person Chris had been talking about. I just don't get why he'd pretend we had been flirting, or why she'd even believe it. I've always been open about Greg, and I can't even think of the last time I've spoken to Chris without someone else present. I guess he wanted to avoid responsibility or something, but he didn't have to make that my issue. But the stealing comment she made towards me was because I guess she saw it as once as a coincidence, two as a pattern, and thought I was some evil bitch who wanted every guy she had. When my mom called me over, she didn't think I was doing anything with Chris, but she still asked to make sure, which really hurt to be honest. It's not like I can prove I'm not doing something, but she believes me at least. Since we've talked, she's been doing damage control on all the relatives, who my sister was telling I was stealing her husband. This whole thing would have been easier if she had just talked to me about it. My mom said she would try to talk to Alicia some more to convince her. I'm not trying to steal her husband. Greg's pissed. He's pissed at my whole family pretty much, but mostly Alicia and Chris. She texted Greg yesterday, "My name only loves you because you are mine, Sophia." I guess she doesn't believe my mom. He blocked her after that. I don't know. I was hoping the reasoning would have been something else. I'm not sure what to do. I don't know if my relationship with her can come back from this, and I refuse to be anywhere near Chris. It's crucial to continue being open and honest with your family, particularly your mom, about your feelings and perspectives. It's unfortunate that your sister seems to be caught in a web of mistrust and misinformation, especially considering the allegations made by her husband, Chris. It might be helpful to encourage her to communicate directly with you, rather than relying on potentially inaccurate information from Chris. Consider expressing your genuine feelings about the situation, making it clear that you have no intention of interfering in her marriage, and that the allegations made by Chris are false. Reiterate your commitment to your relationship with Greg. As for Greg, it's understandable that he's upset about the accusations and the hurtful messages from your sister. Blocking her to protect your relationship might be a wise decision for now, but resolving the broader family issues will require open communication. Ultimately, healing these wounds will take time, understanding, and effort from all parties involved. Encourage your sister to seek therapy for herself and for her marriage, as it seems there may be underlying issues that need to be addressed. It's unfortunate that these family dynamics are affecting your relationships, but with clear communication and a commitment to understanding one another, there's potential for resolution and healing in the future. Let's now go on to the comment section. User Fair asks, WTF is wrong with Chris, throwing her under the bus like that for no reason. I suspect Chris has a crush on her, but Jesus. Talk about screwing with two marriages. Chris is a boss and her sister isn't too far behind, withholding a grudge about a middle school relationship from 10 years ago. User NB Shaman. I kinda get why Alicia thought what she did. OP said it herself. Once a coincidence, twice a pattern, you know? And because she doesn't want to believe the man she married and loves is such scum, she takes that pattern and blames Ope. It's dim and burying your head in the sand to not confront the actual problem, but humans have never been rational beings. In any case, Alicia should be on NCLC until she rids herself of the trash that is her husband. BCS only then will she be able to see he is a lying asshole who threw OOP and Greg under the bus. And she better realize soon BC's she burned a few bridges, and boy, those ain't cheap to rebuild. User Jagus Barrow. There is no way I'd want to have a relationship with my sister after a stunt like this. She's so willing to throw your entire relationship away for a guy who is definitely already cheating. He's just trying to take the heat away from himself by acting like it's with another family member. Fuck both of those two. They deserve each other. Let's shift to the next story. My 40M wife 36F was seen holding hands with another man. My wife, 36F, and I, 40M, have been together 5 years and got married last year. We definitely have our ups and downs, but we're generally happy. On Friday, she went out with people from her work for Christmas drinks and arrived home around midnight, absolutely hammered. She just said she'd had a good time and went straight to bed. Yesterday, I got a message on Instagram from an anonymous account, claiming to be one of her colleagues, saying she'd been flirting all night with one of the guys from the office, 44M, and they'd left together at about 9 to walk to the train station. The colleague had a couple more drinks then went to the station herself, and says she saw my wife walking hand in hand with the guy through the station at about 10:45. They didn't see her. Last night I showed her the message and asked her for an explanation. She claimed she was so drunk she doesn't remember anything that happened after about 8 p.m. I asked if she went somewhere with the guy after they left the group, and she checked the location history on her phone, which confirmed that they had gone to a bar near the station for about an hour. They arrived at the station at 10:40. She gave me her phone and insisted I check it, and there were no suspicious messages or anything. As far as I could tell, she doesn't have the guy's number in her phone, and they're not following each other on Instagram or friends on Facebook. I asked if she was flirting with him, and she admitted that she was talking mostly to him all night. But that's just because he's the only person in her office she has anything in common with, and that they're just friends. And it wasn't flirting. She's mentioned this guy to me before and said how much they have in common. I asked if they were holding hands, and she said she doesn't remember, but she doesn't think so. She claims to know who sent me the message and says it's a woman in the office who hates her, although she doesn't know why. Today she's been in a terrible mood and we've not really spoken. So that's where we are. I'm not sure what to do. Is this as big a red flag as it seems to be? In the following final update, we'll share our opinion. Update. My 40M wife 36F was seen holding hands with another man. Sam came home from work on Monday and casually said that she'd spoken with the guy, Tom, and he'd confirmed that they hadn't held hands, they'd just been walking arm in arm because she was drunk and wearing heels. I asked why her colleague, Helen, would make an Instagram account, track me down, and message me saying they held hands if it wasn't true. She said Helen is basically in love with Tom and made a pass at him just after his divorce, but he rejected her. I asked why Helen would feel threatened by her. She said because her and Tom are friends and Helen's a crazy jealous bitch, as evidenced by the Instagram message. I asked why she went for a drink, just her and Tom. She said that according to Tom, they walked past this bar with an amazing live band playing, so they stopped in for a drink. Her only regret was doing too many shots too early and getting shit-faced. The next day, she went shopping after work and came home with a new dress. I asked what the occasion was, and she said her work Christmas party. Last week was just drinks with people from her office. The company Christmas party is on Friday. Apparently, she'd mentioned this. I hardly slept that night. The next day, I decided to reply to the Instagram message to get some more info. I asked, "Do you think anything's going on with them?" Helen, I assume, quickly replied with a long message saying that they flirt at work and everyone's noticed. Apparently Sam was going to be let go, but Tom put in a good word, so she kept her job. Tom protects her in the office and will constantly defend her. She also said that Sam bitches about me to the whole office, and it's clear we don't have a happy marriage. I asked if she was going to the Christmas party, and she said she was. She said she'd update me if anything happened. Sam finished work early on Friday, so she had time to get ready. She looked amazing, and I really didn't want her to go, but I felt like I couldn't say anything. I got an Instagram message about midnight saying that Sam and Tom hadn't interacted at the party, but that people from the office had decided to leave and go to a different bar. They all left just before 11 and were at the new bar by 10 past. Sam and Tom turned up just before midnight. Sam arrived home about 2 a.m. not quite as drunk as last time and went straight to sleep. I pretended to be fast asleep. I looked at the location history on her phone. After leaving the venue, she'd taken a 3-mile detour to a residential street, stayed for half an hour, then gone to the bar. I sent the address to Helen. She didn't reply until the next morning when she said it was Tom's house. When Sam woke up, I just asked her straight out if she cheated on me with Tom last night. She angrily denied it. I told her that I knew she'd been to Tom's house. She accused me of spying on her, called me controlling, said she was going to stay with her sister. I demanded an explanation, and she said she went to his house so they could smoke a joint before heading to the bar. Then she stormed out. She wouldn't reply to my messages or answer my calls all day Sunday. I called her sister, who said she hadn't seen her, but she texted me later that she'd spoken to Sam and she was okay. Sam came home yesterday morning. I asked where she'd been, and she just said she couldn't do this anymore and wants a divorce. She went to start packing some clothes while I tried to get her to talk to me. I asked if she was leaving me for Tom. She once again denied anything inappropriate had happened between them, but said my jealousy was the final straw. It's clear I don't trust her. I'm controlling. I take her for granted. She's deeply unhappy. Has been for a while, so she's gone. It looks like I'll be spending my first Christmas alone. I have no idea if she was telling the truth or if it was an affair. Weirdly, I'm not feeling too bad today, so maybe this is for the best. Once she was gone, Sam blocked me on all her social media and refused to return my messages or answer my calls. I ended up traveling to the other side of the country to spend Christmas with my parents. On Christmas Eve, Sam came home and took more of her stuff. I watched her on our security cameras. I tried phoning her, but she ignored my calls. Christmas wasn't great, and my parents were both shocked and in denial about what had happened. They had no idea we were having issues and insisted Sam would come to her senses and come home. Eventually, I just said she'd met someone else. I returned home on the 27th. I'd been getting sporadic updates from Sam's sister, just letting me know she's all right, but without any details. Before all this happened, we'd made plans to spend New Year's Eve at Sam's favorite bar in the city. I went on my own, but she didn't show up. On Tuesday night, I received an Instagram message from Helen saying that Sam and Tom had arrived at work together in Tom's car. I didn't bother replying. On Wednesday night, she sent another message saying Sam was poisoning the office against her and that Tom was pushing upper management to transfer her to another office or get rid of her. She begged me to do something. I texted Sam and said we needed to talk, but she didn't reply. So the next day, I called her work switchboard, gave a fake name, and got put through. I could tell she wasn't happy to hear my voice, but she agreed to meet up after work at a local pub and talk. I got there early, and she arrived 25 minutes late. She apologized for ignoring my calls and said she still cares about me and wants to end things on good terms. I said, just tell me the truth. She promised that she wasn't having an affair with Tom and they were just friends. She understands why I was suspicious after the Instagram message, but said I should have accepted her denial and trusted her. She has a lot of male friends, but she felt like she couldn't hang out with them because I'd get jealous. I pointed out that I've never told her not to hang out with anyone, but she said I'd be in a mood whenever she'd hang out with a guy friend. She feels like we only got married to try and fix a relationship that was already broken. Our conversations have devolved into small talk and we've drifted apart. I said I'd heard that she and Tom arrived at work together. Sam said she went to Tom's after I accused her of cheating and knew it was over between us. They spent the weekend together and agreed that they'd make a better couple than we did. She needed me to know that nothing happened between them until after she'd told me she wanted a divorce. And now they were together. And she wanted me to hear it from her before I saw it on social media. Tom was waiting outside for her in the car. All I could do was stand up and walk out. Sam texted me saying she knew I was upset, but not to do anything stupid. I blocked her number. I'm not gonna lie, it was a rough night. The next day I was just numb. Didn't really do much. Over the weekend, I dug out our marriage certificate so I can start divorce proceedings. I've no idea what to say to Helen, so I haven't replied. I think the plan now is to try and find a new job closer to my hometown. I moved across the country to live with Sam, and I've never really felt settled here. I also don't want to run into her and Tom around town. Luckily, we rent. Now we've got Helen, our resident drama queen, crafting an Instagram novella with more twists than a pretzel factory. The mystery unfolds with hand-holding accusations, workplace politics, and a cameo by Tom, the office knight in shining armor. But wait, there's more. Sam, our leading lady, makes a grand entrance with tales of shots, live bands, and a joint pit stop at Tom's house. The classic I don't remember because I was too drunk card. A plot twist as old as time. Fast forward to the Christmas party that rivals a Hollywood blockbuster. Sam takes a detour to a residential street, probably to add suspense. And our hero plays detective with location history. Sherlock Holmes, eat your heart out. Amidst the chaos, we witness the unraveling of a marriage, a festive solo trip to parents, and a New Year's Eve party for one. Now, let's go to comment section. User-friendly respect 4582. Orker story isn't impossible at all, but if I did understand correctly, she was pretty accurate with the times and descriptions of what was OP's wife doing with the guy. Even if it looks suspicious, she was the only one providing accurate information that was verified by looking at wife's phone. OP's wife was only dismissing the allegations and avoided any kind of communication. So my guess here is that she was the one on fault. User Pete BMNC. If you love someone, you don't respond to their concerns that way. You don't use them as an excuse to move out. She might not be sleeping with him, but was planning on it. User L3XG. She was cheating, but let's say she wasn't. You clearly needed additional support from her after Helen had thrown a bomb at your relationship, and she did even more sketchy shit. That isn't a good partner. She was already out the door. She'll start dating Tom soon and say you pushed them together, but nothing happened before you caused the divorce. Their relationship won't work out, and then she'll come back saying Tom manipulated her, blah, blah, blah. Ida for buying a brand new car, even though my fiance said not to, even though we needed it. So me, 28M, and my fiance, Ashley, 30F, have been together for 8 years. I am the only one who drives as she doesn't have a license, so she relies on me when transportation is an issue. Going to work, getting groceries, etc. As for my car, it's a POS. I've had it for 5 years and I do not know how I managed to make it last this long. It has nearly 250k miles on it. It needs 4 new tires, new brakes, the engine is worn, And according to the mechanic, the transmission will go any day. So getting a new car was a pretty big priority, at least for me anyway. Ashley didn't see it that way. She did not want me to get a new car at all. She started an argument with me that it would be too expensive and we won't have any money for our wedding later this year if we buy one. But I have money. I have budgeted a lot, and I could afford to buy a brand new car without digging into my savings and still have plenty left in my checking. Granted, yes, I could have just bought a used car, but I swore to myself to get a brand new one because I don't want high maintenance costs again. Despite showing her the numbers and everything, and even agreeing that we would still have plenty of money, she still refused. I decided that I would get a new car anyway and bought one, paid in full, earlier this week. She was extremely pissed. Since then, Ashley has been avoiding me and figuring out other, costly means of transportation on her own. The way I see it, getting a new car was an absolute necessity, but she did not think so. Did I really do something wrong? Should I have bought a used car? Is there something else I'm missing? Now, many of you, including me, believe that this was all just financial abuse and she wanted control of my money. Well, we were all wrong. Yesterday, I went out to take care of a few errands, and when I came back, Ashley came to me with tears. It had looked like she had been crying for a long time. She apologized for getting angry at me and for avoiding me. She said she knew my old car was on its last legs and knew a new one was necessary. She also understood that there would be plenty of money left. Ashley admitted she wasn't mad about the money. It was actually the memories of my old car. She only mentioned the wedding because she didn't want to sound pathetic and seemed to be the most obvious choice. You see, last year we had a 14-year-old German Shepherd that we sadly had to put down after she got cancer. Ashley had her ever since she was a pup and loved her very much, and so did I. Ashley was an absolute mess after that. We never took down her cradie and had placed her old blankets, pillows as well as her leash and collar in it. What does this have to do with my car? I still had her old blanket in my old car whenever we took her out. Some of her fur was also still in the back seat as I almost never vacuumed the back. Ashley was afraid of forgetting her, and that's why she wanted me to keep the car. I assured Ashley that I love her and that I loved our dog. If it meant anything, I took the blanket out of the car, which she asked me to place in the crate. I had donated my old car, but the tow truck won't be there to pick it up until tomorrow, so she asked to see the old car one last time. So we drove to the lot, and she had a tearful goodbye over it. I took her out to eat after that to get her mind away from it. So there you have it, everyone. This was never about money. Firstly, it's important to recognize the complexity of emotions involved in your situation. Losing a beloved pet can be an incredibly painful experience, and the connection between the old car and memories of your German Shepherd adds a poignant layer to the situation. Your decision to get a new car wasn't about neglecting financial responsibilities, but rather addressing a practical need. However, Ashley's emotional attachment to the old car, infused with memories of your late dog, overshadowed the financial aspects. It's commendable that she opened up about her feelings and vulnerability, and your understanding and support during this difficult time reflect a strong foundation in your relationship. Losing a pet is akin to losing a family member, and grief can manifest in unexpected ways. Moving forward, it might be helpful to continue fostering open communication about emotions and finding ways to honor the memory of your German Shepherd. This experience underscores the importance of understanding each other's emotional landscapes and working together. Navigate challenging situations. As you both move past this, it's a testament to your relationship's resilience that you can come together, share your feelings, and find a path forward with empathy and compassion. Let's go ahead and enter the last comment section. User Salsa Rice. It's not that weird. A car is much more personal than something like a Tupperware container. You get to know every little ding and damage on it, remember every little quirk of its handling, and have thousands of memories of everything you did driving to in that car. It's not about the car itself, but about everything you did that the car was there for. User Sentimental Illness. My first car was a piece of shit held together with chewing gum and sheer hope, and I still miss it sometimes. It's not the car itself, it's the phase of life that it represents. Even when you move on to better things, it can be hard to let go of the old ones. User Most Past 26.8. I feel this. I still get sad and miss the first truck I ever bought. It was a truck that got passed down in the family. It was my grandma's that my grandpa bought for her, then my dad's, and then mine. But it wouldn't run and kept having problems, and I couldn't afford the upkeep on it anymore. So I sold it to an older gentleman who was trying to rebuild his original truck and needed parts of mine to finish his. Mainly because since he was rebuilding his, I knew he'd take care of her. I named the truck Ruby. I had her for years, and I grew up in it. As we wrap up this Reddit story, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more captivating Reddit stories. Your support means the world to me. I enjoy, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.